Introduction to History. Every nation feels pride in knowing its ethnic identity. Bangladesh also has a glorious history to be proud of, a history of establishing self-governing and a history of victory. We achieved our independence through the 9 months liberation war as a consequence of massive movement against 23 years of Pakistan reign and almost 200 years of British imperial regime. A new independent country came into being in the world map, named Bangladesh. Since history provides reviewed and verified factual truth, so we have to study and research it to know our history of achieving rights for self-rule, to know the history of glorious liberation war, to search the self-identity or national origin. That's why an attempt of analyzing history requires us to be familiar with elements and classification of history. The meaning of history, itihas, comes from the word itiho. Itiho means oitio or heritage. Heritage is related to habits, education, language, art, culture, and literature of the past which move on a march to the future. History is a means to pass tradition from generation to generation. Historian E. S. Carr defines history as an endless conversation between the present and the past. We all know that our present is based on the past. History is the narration of the past and its evolution. Nowadays, history also narrates contemporary events that is known as contemporary history. Hence, the range of history is extended from the remote past to the present. The Bangla word of history, itihas, is combination of two fragments etios plus as. It means it was like this or it happened. The similar opinion is also expressed by another historian, D.D. Johnson. He says that history is what has happened. If anything is yet to happen, that is not history. The English word history comes from a Greek word historia. This word was first used by the famous Greek historian Herodotus. 5th century, he used the term history to name one of his research works. Herodotus believed that the ultimate objective of history is to seek and record what exactly happened. In this research, Herodotus analyzed different aspects of the war between the Greeks and the Phaeacians. For example, he recorded different information he could collect. Important incidents that took place during the war and the victories the Greeks had. His objective was to inspire Next generation for bravery and heroic deeds. Herodotus was the first person who combined the two concepts, history and research, together. Thus, history turned to science, became completely information based and a subject to research. Historian Raffles thinks that history is the continuous and scientific description of events. The father of modern history, the German historian Leopold von Ranke thinks that history means the research and the true description of what took place. History is written based on existing facts and evidence, but it has always the opportunity to be rewritten based on new evidence and changing historical perspectives. Source of history. Source of history refers to the facts and findings used to establish historical truth. These elements can be divided into two categories, namely written source and written source. Number 1. Written source. The written source of writing history include literature, verses, accounts, documents, etc. Literary works of different times are also good source of collecting information about that particular time. For example, the Vedas, Arthashastra by Kautilya, Rastarangini by Kalahana, Tabaqi is Nashiri by Minaz Siraz, Ain-i-Akbar by Abul Fazl, etc. have good historical source. Again, the narration or descriptions of Avarka's travels are always considered as the important source of history. The description of the Chinese travelers, Ephraim, Paihen, Hian Chang, and Itzing, who came to Bengal respectively from the 5th of 7th century, are some of the wonderful written sources of history. The description of his region are also available in the writings of African traveler Ibn Battuta and others. We can learn about the society, economy, politics, religious practice, rituals and customs of that time of this region from these descriptions. Literary sources. Biographical writings. Ramcharita by Shandakar Nandi. Hars Sarita of Banavata. Mongol Kavya. Archaeological artifacts are the objects of materials from which are obtained various types of historical information about a particular time, place or people. There are basically unwritten material. Ancient inscriptions we can note about government documents, warfare, land allocation, king's order, king's name, conquering kingdoms, regime, religious beliefs, etc. From these inscriptions, unofficial inscriptions usually inscribed on temple stones, coins, king's name, date and years, king's image, idol of gods or goddess, were